Kia ora, lovelies. I'm Kristina.
And I'm Wati, and
we are the minds behind
Heart to Hearts. In this podcast, we are going to explore and demystify mental health in Aotearoa.
Tune in every fortnight to Heart to
Hearts.
I'm Kristina, and I'm from the far north and grew up in South Auckland.
I'm Wati, and I'm from Ruatoki, Waimana, Aitutaki, and Tahiti.
We created this podcast because we experienced firsthand how important and how real mental health is through a youth program called Aotearoa.
It sparked our interest in engaging with people and organisations who do mahi in the mental health space. What better way to start these conversations with the very founder of Aotearoa?
Our special guest is a mindfulness educator and a youth work specialist and has recently completed her studies at Aotearoa.
Her background is in education, leadership, not-for-profit management, public speaking and fundraising.
Kristina became a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit for her services to youth and community. She spent the past 10 years working with marginalised communities facing stress and trauma in Aotearoa and around the world. She is a māmā and has played a big role in our professional and personal lives. Welcome our boss and our dear friend,
Kristina Cavit. Welcome
to our podcast. Hearts to Hearts is the name of the podcast.
I love it.
It was going to be Hey Brain Fuck Off.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
That makes sense.
So we landed on Hearts to Hearts because two hearts connecting with another.
Happy to be here to be doing the first episode of Hearts to Hearts. Tēnō whakawhetai o kia kōrua. I am really honoured to be here, and yeah, I've been feeling pretty exhausted after finishing up takiura and whānau and mahi, but being with yous honestly always lifts my wairua.
Well, we are going to do some quick fire partai.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Quick fire questions.
I don't know what that means, but I'm here for it.
Yeah. 5 rounds just to like get our mouths moving, our throats warmed up, and our minds thinking. So yeah, don't think too much about the answers. Just first thing that comes to mind.
Can't wait.
There's no right or wrong answers.
You're going to love them.
You're gonna stitch me up.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Cool. Are you ready?
Alright.
What brand is your microwave?
I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you. It was inherited microwave.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, it's very special to me now.
Yeah, very sentimental. What is
Actually, I think it was Louis' grandma's microwave.
Stop.
And his grandma and his grandpa were like his favourite people. So it is he taonga te microwave.
Oh,
He brand taonga.
that's special.
No way.
What is your favorite dish?
Pizza just came to mind, pasta, tofu donburi, chocolate anything.
Yes. And what is your favorite yoga pose?
Shavasana.
Oh yeah, all of
I think
ours.
it's everyone's,
Yeah.
But the like one where you're not lying down would probably be shoulder stand.
Can you demonstrate?
I can definitely demonstrate in my dress.
Yeah.
It's where you stand on your shoulders, like you lie down and then kick your legs up and put your hands either around your lower back or wherever they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And you're kind of resting on your shoulders or a little bit on your neck.
Yeah.
And I just like that one because I feel like it, like flipping upside down in that way, just kind of flips my mind upside down, like gives me a different perspective on stuff, and just like kia tau te wairua I muri I tēnei pose.
Yeah. You made that pose sound so beautiful.
Yeah.
I used that pose when I need to release some gas.
Wow!
Yeah, and it works really well.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, like you drop it, just releases. And
True.
I feel like I'm letting go of a lot.
True.
I need to try that for
But
both.
I think it's considered one for energy, shoulder stand.
Yes.
And if you could experience something for the first time again, what would it be and why?
Beautiful question. I just had like a vision of like sunset at a beautiful tropical beach, going for a swim in the warm water. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Gives me Rauru vibes. You've been there a few times, have you?
I have, with our friend Poko, who's from there, and our daughter had her first birthday over there.
That's right.
Yeah. And
That's so lucky.
she's now 3, and Naya, our other baby's about to turn 1 this weekend.
This weekend?
Yes, on Sunday.
I feel like she's been around forever.
Yeah. One?
new.
No.
Big baby. Alright, so yeah, as you mentioned, you just graduated Takiura. Congratulations.
Kia ora.
Alongside our other friend, Brady. How was that experience for you? Like, moving away from Mahi, I know a lot of people in the circle kind of described you as like being someone who works a lot.
Who was that? No.
No names. But yeah, how did you manage going into study again, stepping away from Mahi and like having a whānau? Like Naya was just born.
Yeah,
and then
she
you
was
stepped
9
into
weeks
that
old
space.
when I started.
9 weeks old.
Yeah, so Takiura, as you know, is a full immersion, so you've got to be there Monday to Friday, 9 to 3, and so baby came with me, so that was a beautiful part, that she was raised in Te Ao Māori, and she was raised with all these aunties and uncles who are like her whānau now, and like she's a really social baby now, and I think it's thanks to Takiura and getting to be around all these people and all this beautiful whakaaro every day. So that was amazing, but it was a really hard year. Like, I feel like the way that I've coped, it's not really coped, it's been more like survived this year. It was very demanding to study in that immersive, intensive environment, and then have a baby and a toddler and try and do some mahi as well. So I wouldn't recommend it if you have like little kids and other stuff going on in your life. Maybe one baby would be fine, because the workload is demanding, but I'm so grateful I did it, and I've learned so much. And yeah, I huri tōku ao katoa, like it's changed my world forever. And it's helped with my haora and my mental health massively as well. So I'm so grateful to all the kaiako and all the whānau hou from Takiura.
Do you want to talk more about what came through going through that experience, or like, because like when we came to, I think it was your last whakapuaki.
Yeah.
And crazy, like you just did not speak in English, and like that's all like I would hear from you. So it was really cool to see you in that space, but then also teach the kaupapa in Te Reo Māori. Just felt so much more special, and like I felt like I wanted to just really learn the tools, even though I've learned it so many times. I was like, wow, this lands and hits better. And I don't know if it's because I'm Māori too, but I feel like you teaching it in that way probably felt a bit different.
Oh, I was like so excited, especially to have yous there, you know, my rangatahi who've been on the program with me since you were 15 and now you're nearly 40. Nah, they're like 21. But yeah, to have yous there for my final whakapuaki, where I had to talk for 60 minutes in te reo, and I ended up teaching an atawhai class, like what we teach on our program to our young people in te reo Māori, and just taught some of my favourite mindfulness tools. It was massive and was so hard, but was so special to have you guys there supporting me. And there's been like so many piki minga heke ups and downs throughout the year. Like, as you said, it's helped my mental health, but sometimes it's harmed it as well. So I think, what's really supported me is the taha whānau, and like my actual whānau, like my partner Louis and my kids and my mum and my parents-in-law, however you say that, but my new whānau that I met at Takiura, like they have helped me get through this, and I really like have learned the, I guess, hirahiratanga or te hapori, like the importance of community and how that is such a strong pillar for our health and well-being. And when I first went to Takiura to study, I was so excited because I was like, oh my God, I just get to like socialize and meet all these new friends. And I remembered how I loved that, you know, and with COVID, we've taken many steps back from being in those social environments. And so it was really beautiful to be like forced into socializing all day, every day. And yeah, I mean, so many other ups and downs with learning your reo and learning about te ao Māori and tikanga Māori, like, just has changed the way I think I'm going to operate for the rest of my life, you know, the way I'm going to approach mahi and whānau and everything. And I hope that I can stay connected to that moving out of the study space.
To give our listeners a bit of context, what even is atawhai? What is TKI?
Paite pata. Who are we, right?
Yeah.
So the Kindness Institute is this kaupapa that we all work for, that supports the rangatahi to transform their own mental health. And we do a lot of that through mindfulness-based kaupapa and I guess kaupapa Māori, mindfulness and yoga as well. And so our dream is an Aotearoa where every young person has the tools they need to transform their own mental health, and recognizing that looks different for all of our young people. So the Kindness Institute is our charity, and atawhai is our core program where we work intensively with the rangatahi to help them learn those tools. And then when they finish, they graduate, they can then go on to our tuakana program where they're trained to become tuakana and mentor the younger kids, and then they might go on to be employed like yourselves.
Yes.
Is that not the path you've been on?
Exactly that path.
Yeah, and loving it.
Yeah.
This is the reason why we even have this podcast in the first place.
What
What was the moment that you realized, oh, this is what I want to do?
What comes up for me is when I was in actually South America in Bolivia, and I was in a slum in La Paz, and I saw young kids, young girls like 11 years old being forced into prostitution and addiction, and just like hanging off the arms of these dudes, you know, 40 years older than them. And that opened my eyes to what's happening to our human whānau, that our kids are being treated in this way. And so that's when I decided I really wanted to dedicate my time to supporting tamariki and rangatahi, and I ended up staying over there in Latin America and working with an organisation called NPH, which supports kids who've been orphaned and abandoned and provides a home so the kids don't get adopted out. They all live together in this beautiful big whānau, and it's just amazing. And so I worked there for a few years, and we had the earthquake in Haiti in 2010, which you might remember, you know, a lot of people died. There was a lot of devastation, and it was then that I started using these tools around mindfulness and kind of resilience and emotional regulation with the kids over there. And these like very chaotic, extremely stressful environments, the kids would just completely switch. Like, you could feel the energy in the room change. And they would come up to me afterwards and say, oh my God, I felt, I don't know how to describe it, but like safe. And it just opened my eyes to like, okay, there's something to this. This really works, you know? And they wanted more of it. And then when I came home and I was working with the rangatahi Māori here, they wanted to learn similar stuff. They needed to understand how to manage their challenges and their emotions. So I was sharing similar kaupapa with them, and we had like amazing responses with our rangatahi Māori here as well. Like, they just loved it and wanted to give up their weekends to do it. And I was like, what the it? And so then I went overseas and learned more about working with mindfulness and with youth and with different communities and with kids dealing with stress and trauma. and then came back, and alongside the rangatahi we created the program of Atawhai together, based on what they wanted and what they needed. And that's what I love about this kaupapa, is it's still carrying that on today. Like everything is led by the rangatahi. It's not like these old people saying, do this. It's like, no, what do you actually need? You know, what are the challenges you're facing and how can we help you? And I think that's what kept me going, is like just seeing how it worked, and seeing like of all the different kaupapa I'd been involved in here and around the world, like I had never seen something like that really worked and quickly. Right? You see the kids come in on day one and they won't even look you in the eyes. You were an example of that, Christine. Just like saying yes or no answers and couldn't get anything more out of you. So like day 5, where like, you know, they've proudly like got their heads and their chests up and their hoods down, and they're engaging in these full kōrero with you. They're teaching other people these tools. Like it's just a lot of love, It's not rocket science. It's just providing a lot of aroha and some really practical skills, I think.
Yeah. Did you expect it to be what it is today? And then stepping away from the Kindness Institute and being confident that what you wanted for the kaupapa will happen, I guess.
Right, pai te pata. I think that when we had no money and we were like just eating beans on toast and feeding the kids beans on toast every day, I couldn't imagine getting to a place where we would be able to be doing what we're doing today and supporting like hundreds, if not thousands, of young people, because it was so hard. It was such a grind, and it still is. But at that point, we had no putia. You know, everything we were doing was for free. Like I had given how many years of full-time work for free. Dominic, you know, heaps of other people had given their time for free to start it, and that's what it needed to get going. So I'm just like so grateful for the mahi of people like Brady and Andy and yourselves and Sam, Dominic, who have taken the realms of the kaupapa and continued the vision so beautifully, and you know, with so much like integrity and mana, and held true to what we want to do, because I think there's this like thing called founders syndrome. When you start something, it's really hard to like step away and let other people come in, but I was really ready for that. And I love what I get to do now, just supporting you guys here and there and helping with I guess more of the education and governance stuff.
Yeah. When you stepped away, what was your practice like then, or what's it like now, since you've had to take a step back and cater to family and studying and other things? Like, is it the same? Have you had to adapt it? Like, how are you taking care of yourself now?
Pai te pata. I think the big change has, because like I'll always be involved with the Kindness Institute. I'm always on the board. I'm always coming in and helping you guys out with this or that. And being here is beautiful because we always connect back to maurito, mindfulness, and taking care of ourselves. But the biggest challenge has been having kids and keeping up the practice, because before, like I would always practice in the morning, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour or more if I had the time, and in the evening again, and then I have my gratitude, you know, before I fall asleep. I always will kind of meditate and focus on 3 things I'm grateful for from the day, and I still do that because that doesn't take much time, you know, and it always makes me feel good and helps me to fall asleep in a more a calm, positive mood, thinking about what I'm grateful for. But those like solid 30 or 40 minute sitting down meditation sessions, like they don't happen. There's not time for those, and I miss that. But my practice has become, I guess, more focused on the mindfulness pillars. Like I really feel I've got a good practice in non-striving, you know, non-striving to have a perfect practice, non-striving to have my meditation practice or my mental health the way it used to be, letting go and finding new ways to find mindfulness, because as you know, it's not just about your formal seated meditation practice. Mindfulness is about how you choose to live your life and your daily interactions with people.
You went overseas to learn from Byron Katie herself.
So Byron Katie is one of, I guess, the teachers that we incorporate into our program, right? And she teaches a mindfulness kaupapa that helps us to let go of stressful thinking. And when Wati first joined our program as a rangatahi, maybe 15 years old, she really resonated with this mahi, we really liked it. And so for her whānau, at the end of our programs, we have a whānau event, a graduation event where everyone comes and the rangatahi can share something, teach a tool or share their experience. Yeah. And Wati decided to embody Byron Katie, who's like this 70-year-old white American woman, and pretend that she was her.
She came.
Oh, sorry.
She was on her private jet. Yeah.
You set the scene. So what happened? She came to our whānau event in Mount Roscoe Way.
Yeah.
You just waited in the back room.
No, I went to toilet. I didn't get to see her, but apparently she came on a jet, private jet.
She had a good tan.
Yeah. She really
did.
Great tan. Different colour. She looked way younger. She was amazing, apparently.
But yes, it was awesome going and studying with her. I got to do lots of her 10-day programs in the States. Maybe like 4 I did. And then outside of that, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 hours of study I did with her facilitators program, which was amazing. And you learn so much about yourself because you do these courses in giving and receiving feedback and criticism and all these skills that are so hard. And like, if you don't actually learn how to deal with them, how do you know how to cope when you get given criticism or feedback, you know? So that kind of stuff was pretty life-changing. I'm super grateful for that work. And for me, it's like quite a good anxiety killer, like her questions. So she has these 4 questions, and when I sit with them, when I have a stressful thought, and ask myself, like, is it really true, and go through the process, you know, how do I feel without this thought? And I love that question because I'm allowed to see myself in the situation but take away all the stress, and I see that I always feel free and light and like, you know, a more connected version of myself. So I still use those tools all the time, and big fan of that mahi for sure.
And is that what kind of made you pick these specific tools to teach our rangatahi? Or like, did you use these tools yourself and was like, I think these would be great?
Yeah, I think all the tools we are using I've used personally and have found like great benefit, and then I've kind of like tested them, you know, and trialed them with our communities to see what works, what doesn't, and then we always adapt them, right? Like we're adapting them to our rangatahi, to Te Ao Māori, to this context of Aotearoa, to our kids dealing with trauma. So, you know, we might take bits from here and there and then change them up, take the best of what works for us. But yeah, I think like the solid foundation, a lot of it has come from the Holistic Life Foundation, which is an awesome kaupapa in Baltimore, who they're like our brothers, they're like our brother organization. I took a lot of their amazing kaupapa and inspiration to start the Kindness Institute. So they work with kids in Baltimore who are dealing with a lot of PTSD from just living in the hood and the realities of that. And they've totally transformed their community and given like a new pathway of employment, like outside of joining a gang. Now these kids can become yoga and meditation teachers. And yeah, their program, they just get it in a way that makes sense to us, I think. And it's not like this white, rich kind of version of mindfulness or yoga that you might see in a studio. It's like, no, we're using these skills as survival tools. And these were developed by Indigenous peoples and honouring that. So I think that's why their kaupapa really works with us. And then other people like John Kabat-Zinn, who's known to be a godfather of mindfulness. We take a lot of his...
Godfather of mindfulness. That's dope. That's so true. That's the vibes he gives when I first saw him read this book. I'm like, this man's so onto it.
His, like, the background in neuroscience and the scientific kind of evidence-based stuff informs a lot of our kaupapa, because even though everything is rangatahi informed, it's also all evidence-based, so we know that it works, which I love as well.
How did you look after yourself, or what did you use to cope with life challenges when you were around the age that we joined the kaupapa?
I used partying. I was not as onto it as you two were at that age. Like, that's why I'm so impressed with yous. You know, you're still like 21 now, and you have learned so much about hauora and mental health, and you've helped thousands of people. Like, you two are absolutely brilliant, but most of us aren't like that. I guess what I could say is I had strong taha whānau with my mates, and you know, my mates are still, I'm still really, really close with them, and that was how I would get through situations. But I really had no understanding of mental health or how to take care of it. In fact, like, probably the opposite. You know, when we were raised, it was very much like, you've got to be tough, you're not allowed to talk about your feelings, toughen up, like, don't show vulnerability is weakness, all of that bullshit, which we now know is the opposite, right? Vulnerability is a huge strength. So I was like very much in that world and bought into that as, like, you know, a survival tool. Like, that's how we all were to get by. And I guess probably being that way led me down this path as well when I started learning about mindfulness and mental health and seeing how closed my heart had been to everything. I took a 180. That's for sure.
What are your thoughts on how mental health has been supported by the government or these other big organisations in New Zealand right now? Like, obviously, I think being in this mahi, we've come across some really dope organisations who are doing so good for our whānau. But then there's also other places that I think could learn a lot more from our whānau.
Ai, tautoko. I think that, you know, since we have been around, which will be 10 years this coming year, by the way.
10 years.
Yeah, the Kindness Institute. So we're gonna have a big
birthday.
party.
Do we have a number finally? Like, what year we started?
Yeah, I figured it out.
Oh.
It will be 10 years in 2025.
Stop.
Wow.
I know.
Okay. Yeah, we need a...
How good, right?
Yeah.
And you, Christine, have been there pretty much from day one. Crazy. Anyway, since we've been around over the last 10 years, the successive governments have not done much for the mental health of our rangatahi. From what we've seen, from what we saw, we were a big part of the inquiry into mental health. If you remember, you were there. We submitted the country's largest submission, which was, I think, over 13,000 people signed, saying that they wanted the government to fund our programs for all young people in schools so that all young people could have access to mental health and mental skills training. And that was also with Pause, Breathe, Smile to fund their programs as well, our good mates who do similar work with tamariki. And yeah, it was a real shame. That was a lot of work and nothing came of that report. And then from there, you know, with National coming into power, we have kind of gone from this, a lot of great kōrero about mental health and kindness, to the opposite, right? There's kōrero and action being taken around this idea of being tough on crime with our young people, with the boot camps, trying to reduce harm to our communities, where actually the evidence shows these do not work. Aotearoa New Zealand has tried to do these style of boot camp programs before and they didn't work. And the evidence shows that psychologically you actually have the opposite effects of what you're wanting. So it doesn't reduce harm for our young people and it doesn't reduce harm for our community. So I'm just absolutely confused as to why the government is allowed to get away with spending the taxpayers' money on programs that have been proven to not work and to cause more harm to our young people. Like, we know from our work with rangatahi and rangatahi who've been in youth justice and through youth justice programs that the only way to make change is actually through aroha, support and education, not through locking them up. So, yeah, it's very, I guess, disheartening, but also it lights a fire under me, and I know under a lot of yous as well, to take action, as what we've seen with the beautiful hikoi, with how many thousands of people coming together. You know, the government wanted to divide the country, but actually ngā mihi ki te kawanatanga for bringing us together, right? Like, we've all come together, and it's so powerful. With those 200,000 people that signed the petition, you know, that's enough to get, I think, 20 Māori seats in Parliament if everybody votes, everyone who signed that submission. So it's really exciting. You know, sometimes the government makes these decisions to to try and make change, but it goes in the opposite direction. So I'm hopeful for what we as a community can do together.
Who has been a po in your life, like when you were younger or even now?
Tōku kuia, Shirley, ko tōku po tōku manoa. He wāhine, ehara he wāhine ai o hanea kao, he wāhine kaha, he wāhine maia. And yeah, my nan, Shirley, who's passed away now, is a big po in my life, and for all of our whānau, like the real matriarch, who suffered a lot and went through so much, but always like rose to the challenge and fought for the best for her whānau. So super, I feel like I'm lucky to come from, you know, the whānau that adopted me, just like the most powerful wāhine ever. They're all wāhine cousins. I've got one tāne cousin.
Wow.
So yeah, Nan, when I was growing up and until she passed away just a few years ago. And then, you know, my partner Louis is a huge po in my life. He, as you guys know, is just like the kindest, most supportive, funny, loveliest guy in the world. And then my best mate Dominic, who you also have the pleasure of knowing, he also is a po for me in other ways of like challenging me and inspiring me with different things. Yeah, and then my group of girlfriends are huge pos for me that I've been friends with since I was 15. And yeah, they just like that power of female friendship is just unparalleled.
It really, I have a part-time around, like, sometimes I can feel a bit stink when you're feeling quite like low some days, or you're struggling with your own mental health, but then your job is to get up and then encourage people to look after themselves, and you're teaching them tools that they can use for blah blah blah, but then you go back home and you're like, oh, I don't even want to do that sometimes. So yeah, like, have you had any similar experience? If so, like, what kept you going, or what helped you just give yourself a bit more grace being in that space, but also being a human as well?
Oh, that's such a good partai that I feel like every day when I come in to run wānanga at Atawhai, I'm like, fuck, God give me strength. Relatable?
Definitely.
Nah, but there's been some days, like, as you guys know, I've got endometriosis, and I have to come in and run a wānanga, and I just feel like crap, like so flattened in terms of my energy, you know. But what I guess helps me rise to the challenge and do it is once I'm there talking with the rangatahi, I get that sense of inspiration and hope from being with them and hearing what they have to say, and just connecting to these tools that have saved my life, you know, like mindfulness has saved my life from really being in a really, really dark place when I was really sick with endometriosis. It's what helped me to keep going. So yeah, when I'm there and doing the mahi, I get like that boost of energy comes back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I keep going. But I think it's really good to acknowledge like we are human, and even though, you know, the three of us might be really into Maurito and mindfulness practices, that doesn't mean we don't like have meltdowns and cry and like lose our shit, because I think often, like, you know, you see these kind of people who work in mental health, or I have seen these kind of people as perfect, and how do they do it all, how do they get through it, and then when they open up and talk about their challenges, I feel less alone. So yeah, it's cool to acknowledge, as you said, Christine, that we all go through it, no matter the tools we've got in our kete, right? It's part of life, but having those tools allows us to hopefully come through it a bit more easily.
What life tip, quote or mantra would you give to our listeners?
A whakatauki that just came to mind was ka tū tonu koe I roto I te aroha. Ka tū tonu koe I roto I te aroha. So stand in the aroha, stand in the love, and like aha ko he aha, whatever happens, whatever the ups and downs, like feel and know that you have that aroha within you, and that aroha is coming from your tipuna, your ancestors who are always there looking out for you and guiding you, from papa tuanuku, from the whenua, from te taia. You know, if you can get out into nature and just connect to that sense of aroha, whatever way you do it, it's actually always there. You know, it's always there within, and I find that for myself very reassuring, and it's a big kaupapa of what we're trying to do, right, is help people to learn that the greatest thing you can do for your community, whether you're working in mental health or activism, is actually learn to accept yourself and be kind to yourself. Like, that's the most revolutionary act, because then when you do that, that has a ripple effect on everyone around you.
E mihi ana. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the first episode for Hearts to Hearts. Thank you again for giving us your time and to just catch up. I feel like we haven't had a proper talk in what feels like a year since you left us to go study, but I'm happy for you at the same time.
Don't worry, I'm back now.
But yeah, and as you know, you played a big part in our personal and professional lives, so very lucky to have the space with you.
Oh, tēnā koroa. Tēnā koroa mo te kōrero hohonu, te kōrero hira mea tāhua. He tino miharo tēnei kaupapa. Thank you so much for having me.
As we always do, and like we mentioned at the start of the podcast, we always end off our kōrero with a practice of some kind. So I thought we can end off today with a gratitude meditation. So yeah, if this is your first time doing a meditation, kei te pai tera, that is all good. Just do what feels comfortable for you. So yeah, I just invite us all to find a comfortable seated position, making any adjustments you need to feel comfortable or at ease. If it feels right for you in this moment, you might like to close the eyes. If not, that is all good. You can just find a spot on the ground to focus on. Grow nice and long throughout your spine, perhaps bringing a slight tuck to the chin if that feels right for you. Releasing the hands wherever they feel comfortable. This can be placed on any part of your tinana, your body, perhaps the sides of you. If there's any discomfort in the tinana, feel free to lay down and take part in this meditation. Hononga ki tō ha, connecting to your breath, ha ki roto, deep breath in, Ha ki waho, deep breath out. Repeating this way of breathing, ha ki roto. Feel the puku rise, and ha ki waho. Feel the puku fall. Ha ki roto, deep breath in. Ha ki waho, deep breath out. Returning back to your natural breathing, no special way of breathing. Allowing yourselves to feel a bit more settled here. A little bit more present. Finding a sense of stillness, a sense of ease. If there's any tightness throughout your body, just each exhale you take, soften that part. Gratitude is a beautiful practice to hono to or to connect to in times of stress or anxiety, but also in moments that feel really good. Gratitude is just taking a moment to pause and to reflect on something you feel very thankful for, something that made you feel quite happy or proud. Anything that the moment you think of it, you feel good, pie. So finding that thing you're grateful for, perhaps it's a person, something that was said. If it helps to visualize it, you might like to imagine seeing it or experiencing it again. And then bringing that thing into your heart space. And we'll close this meditation off with just 3 cleansing breaths together. So exhale fully wherever you are. Ha ki roto, taking a deep breath in, feel the puku fill up with air. Ha ki waho, deep breath out. Allow the shoulders to drop away from the ears. Ha ki roto. Connecting to that thing you're grateful for today. And ha ki waho, deep breath out. Last one, ha ki roto, deep breath in. And ha ki waho, deep breath out. Returning back to your natural breathing, and then in your own time, when you feel ready, you can gently blink open your eyes and come back to the room.
Thank you for tuning into our first episode of Hearts to Hearts. We hope today's kōrero with our guest has left you feeling a little more connected, a little more understood, and a lot more empowered on your mental health journey. Remember, you are not alone in this.
If you found any value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the conversation. You can also connect with us on Instagram and TikTok at Hearts to Hearts Podcast. Hearts to Hearts with the number 2. And check out our website, The Kindness Institute, for more resources and support.
Take care of yourself and keep listening to your heart.
Until next time, stay kind to your mind.
Thanks for tuning in to Hearts to Hearts, where every conversation brings us closer.
Catch you in the next one.